on the phone, we have legendary college basketball coach Lefty Driesell. How you doing, Lefty?
I'm doing great.
You ready to get back into coaching? There's some jobs out there.
No, man, I just turned 80. But if they want to pay me the salary they're paying now, I might come back. You know, my first job in Maryland, I made $14,000. Now they make that in a day.
But that was good money back then, right?
That was good. Yeah, it was like stealing. Because I loved coaching. I would have done it for nothing.
Because I see after college in '54, you took an office job that paid you $6,200.
Oh, that's true, right? And then I went to coaching. That was with the Ford Motor Company when I got out of Duke. Then the second year, they offered me the JV coaching job at the school I had attended, the high school, Granby High School, and I took that for $3,200. But anyway, I've had a great career, and I'm not hurting for any money, and I have a wonderful wife and wonderful children, and I got 11 grandchildren now, so all I do now is just watch basketball and second guess all these coaches.
So who do you like in the tournament?
Well, I don't know. Now that Syracuse lost their center,
right?
I don't know. I was kind of favoring them, but I don't think you can. I never thought, because I never played much zone, that you could win a national championship playing the zone. There's only been two teams that did it, with Michigan State with Magic Johnson, and the Syracuse won it one time. So I don't know. Kentucky's awful good, but they're awful young. And they don't have much experience, but I'd take talent over experience any day. But now that Syracuse is out of it, I guess them, maybe Ohio State's got a great team. There are a lot of good teams out there that could win it.
How important is coaching in the tournament?
Well, being a coach, I think coaching is very important. If I was a fan, I'd say it had nothing to do with it. Because you got to have good players. I mean, nobody's going to win it. The coach doesn't know what he's doing or doing a good job. You're not going to luck into it. But, yeah, I think coaching is important. And a lot of it, go ahead. A lot of it is like psychological. You know, how do you get them ready? They've been practicing now. Most of these guys keep them all summer to practice, or they've been practicing since last June, and they're tired. They're probably, in some ways, bored. And so I think you got to use some psychology to get them up and get them excited and, make them play with enthusiasm.
How important is it for the players to have experience? Now, you see some teams that have great talent, and the talent's there for a year or two and they go. You see other, like mid-majors, where the players will stay 3 or 4 years, and they're a more cohesive team.
Well, I don't know. I remember John Wooden told me one time that he said winning that first national championship is the hardest. He said after that, he said it didn't get easy, but it was. I knew what to do. I knew what I had done, and so I think the schedule that you play during the regular season has a lot to do with it. My reason for these, like George Mason and VCU, is because they play a tougher non-conference schedule. They play games on the road. Most of the teams in the ACC and the Big East and the Pac-10 and all, or Big Ten, they don't play road games in the preseason. All they do is play, teams they know they can beat at home, guarantee games, which I'm violently opposed to.
It's easy to coach when you have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, and all those guys.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. But, like right now, Mike Krzyzewski's done a great job, but, he's got a great university recruit for him, and he works hard at recruiting. And same way with Roy Williams at North Carolina and Bill Self at Kansas. They get good players because they work at it. One time somebody asked Adolph Rupp, said, no wonder you win all the time. He said, because you got the best players. He said, isn't that part of coaching college basketball and or pros or whatever? So, whoever's got the best players is not always going to win, but most of the time.
I'm surprised you never coached at Duke. You played there. I thought you'd be a Duke guy for life.
Well, I was offered a job. I had just taken the Maryland job, and they offered me the job, and I turned it down. And every case offered me the NC State job. They won a national championship, and I could have gotten a Florida job. Ray Graves offered me that. So I turned down 3 jobs and won a national championship.
Of course, with your coaching, you probably wouldn't have won, though, right?
Pardon me?
Just kidding. I said if you were the coach, you would. I'm kidding. I don't need to.
Oh, yeah, I may not have won. Is that what you're trying to say? You sound like some of my enemies.
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
Yeah, right.
So what was your most challenging school that you coached at? You were at Davidson, Maryland, James Madison, Georgia State. I assume they all had different challenges. Was there one that had a greater challenge?
Davidson was really, they never had a winning team in the history of the school, I don't think. And then Georgia State was about the same way. Maryland, everywhere I went, Maryland, I won 6 games the year before I came, averaged about 8 to 5 or 6 years before I came. So all of them were a big challenge. I never got a job like Duke or, NC State or somewhere that had a great tradition, had good players coming back. Every place I coached was down, and I had to work to get it back up.
And you won. I mean, wherever you were, you won. You won at Davidson. You won at Maryland. I mean, it was incredible. Can you imagine it? Could you have imagined if Moses Malone would have played with you? I think he probably would have won a championship.
Well, that's what I dream about all the time. But, see, people don't realize this, but when I was at Maryland, we were in the finals of the ACC tournament 6 years. And we only won it once because it was always played in North Carolina. We only won it. See, if we had been in the NCAA all 6 of those years, we might have won it too. Like right now, Duke wouldn't be in the NCAAs, and who else lost? Half of the teams that are in there now wouldn't be in there because you had to win your tournament to get in. That went on until we lost to North Carolina State in a double overtime game, and then everybody said, we got to let more people in. So the next year they let 2 teams in from a conference, and then it went to 3, then it went to 4. Now they're letting 68 teams in, which is a lot more than they had when I was coaching. The most we ever had was, I think it was 24 most of the time up until the mid 80s.
Yeah. It seems like the conference tournaments nowadays are just designed to make money for the schools. And you take something like the Southeastern Conference, and I don't know that Kentucky was all that heartbroken about not winning the championship. They still get a number 1 seed. Back in the day, as you say, the conference tournament meant something. You win and you're in. You lose, you go home, or you go to the NIT.
Right. And you're talking about pressure now. That's pressure. And just like I said, Kentucky, they wouldn't be in the NCAAs most of my coaching career. So, you had to win that tournament or you just didn't get in. The only league that you didn't have to win the tournament was the Big Ten, and they never had a tournament until years ago.
Why were all the games played in North Carolina? Who made that decision? Was it Dean Smith?
No, I don't know. North Carolina, Duke, NC State, and Wake Forest, and I don't know why they did it, but it just started there. And every case started it and played it in Raleigh. When I was playing at Duke, and we had to go play on NC State's home court. But then after that, I guess the neutral site was Greensboro.
I don't know. I think College Park, Maryland would have been a good neutral site, don't you?
Well, we had the biggest field house. That's why we had the NCAA, the Final Four there twice, because Cole Fieldhouse was the largest, had the largest attendance in the country. We had 14,500. There weren't that many big gyms around at that time.
So does ESPN give you any royalties over March Madness since you started it?
No, I should have put in for that, though. It's still going on strong. And, in fact, around here, Sears and a lot of these stores have what they call Midnight Madness.
Midnight Madness.
Have sales. Yeah, whatever. But that was, something that's just caught on and it's still going. So I'm happy that, we decided to do it.
How'd you come up with that? Usually you want to have your players in bed by 9 o'clock or something.
Yeah, well, it was because, the first day of practice, wherever I coached, at high school and college and everywhere, I made them run a mile. So they would start to practice, in pretty good shape. If they didn't make it under 6 minutes, they had to run it every day after practice until they did make it. So, we always did that at midnight. And then we had Tom McMillan and Elmore and John Lucas and those guys coming up on my first team. I knew it was going to be my best team at Maryland. So I said, let's get going early. You can really start practice at midnight on October the 15th. So I said, let's run the mile at midnight, and we'll get it out of the way so we can have a better practice, that afternoon. And it was about 1,000 people out there watching us run the mile. And so one of my players, I think it was Maurice Howard, said, hey, Coach, why don't we next year, Christmas Eve, why don't we just have an inter-squad scrimmage? I said, great idea. So we had an inter-squad scrimmage, about 8,000 people, and it took off from there.
When you won the NIT, was that something that you always dreamed of, or was that just like a consolation for not making the tournament?
No, it wasn't a consolation because, see, that year we lost in the tournament to North Carolina, I think it was. We lost in the finals to North Carolina. And so, going to the NIT after that, the NIT was a tough conference then. I mean, a tough tournament. Only with 24 teams got in the NCAA. And, in fact, way back, even before that, you could either choose to be in the NIT or the NCAA. And Al McGuire one year chose to be in the NIT. But the NIT was big time back then. In fact, after we won it, UCLA won the national championship. I said, we're number 2. Yeah, I felt like we were because there weren't but 24 teams in the NCAA. And we beat some good teams in the NIT. And at that time, too, people probably forgot this, but you played all your games in Madison Square Garden. You didn't play on your home court or somebody else's home court. We played every game in Madison Square Garden. And Tom McMillan was the MVP, and we beat Syracuse and I forget Jacksonville when they had the big kid, and I forgot who. We beat Niagara in the finals, and we beat them by 30 points, which was the largest margin that anybody had ever won in the NIT.
Was that Artis Gilmore on that team?
Yeah, I think it was Artis Gilmore, yeah. But it was a great tournament back then. It's not like now,
Well, now it's like so many teams. They might as well have everybody put in the tournament, and
that's about right. I live in Virginia Beach, and the Old Dominion's playing Coastal Carolina tonight in the CIT. So now they got CIT and the BIT and the NIT, and plus they got 68 teams in the NCAA. So the thing is really expanded. But back most of my career, there were 24 teams in the NCAA, and I think 12 or so in the NIT.
I think your greatest accomplishment, though, was saving those kids from the burning building in '73.
Well, that was kind of, if I hadn't have been a basketball coach, it probably never got the guy's name in the paper. But I was just lucky. With my friend and I, my practice teacher when I was at Duke, he was at East Durham Junior High School, and we were down there fishing one night about 2 o'clock, and we saw these flames coming out of those row houses up there, and we ran up there and tried to get people out, and luckily we were able to get everybody out, but it wasn't any big deal. I mean, although 3 or 4 of them burned to the ground. So I guess it was a big deal. In fact, a lot of ladies, one lady said, you all better get out of my house. What are you doing in here? I said, lady, you the one that better get out of here. You're going to burn up. So we just did what anybody else would have done if they'd have seen flames coming out of row houses.
Did you enjoy being a basketball analyst on TV?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, when I did that the first year I was out of coaching after I left Maryland, and because I knew all the players in the ACC, I had recruited them all, and I did enjoy it then. Now, I've done a little bit of it since I retired, but you got to learn all these guys' names. And Vitale, that's all he talks about: who their girlfriends are, where they went to school, what shoe size they wear. I don't want to get into all that research. I would just tell them what's going on at the game. But and you don't make that much money doing it. If I needed the money, I'd probably enjoy it, but I don't need the money.
I mean, yeah, you got a 10-year contract in 1985, and then you resign a year later. Did you get paid for another 9 years, or did you give that money back?
No, I got every cent of it. Got every penny of it. So, I've done pretty well financially. Not like these guys nowadays, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, Bruce Weber walks away from Illinois after getting fired, and he gets $3.9 million.
I know.
Crazy money.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess he deserves it. I don't know that coaches are worth what they're getting paid. And of course, if I was coaching, I wouldn't feel that way. But like I said, I didn't coach for the money. I never had an attorney or anything. And I coached because I love coaching.
Who was the toughest coach you went against?
Pardon me?
Who was the toughest coach you coached against?
Yeah, I guess you'd have to be pretty good. And a lot of coaches, Dean was tough to beat, and there was a lot of. Whenever you're coaching, the next team you're playing has a great coach and a great team. So I wouldn't want to say who was the best. Right now, I think Mike Krzyzewski is probably the best coach in the country. But I beat him more than he beat me. I got him before he got started.
Before he got all that talent coming to Duke.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you have a favorite team of all the teams that you coached? Was there a favorite season?
Jeez, I don't. See, I can't even think of that. But excuse me, if I said one team, all then the other guys on the other teams would be mad at me. So I enjoyed them all. I mean, I had a lot of great players and a lot of great teams, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So like I didn't tell you this, but see, I started being a man. I went to Granby High School, but when I went there, it was an elementary school and a high school. So I went from the second grade through the 12th grade at the same school, and I was the manager for the football and the basketball team and the baseball too when I was a little dude growing up. So, in fact, I got a letter in the 4th grade, because I was a manager for all 3 of those teams. So I've been around basketball and sports all my life.
How good a player in the NBA would Len Bias have been, do you think?
Oh, I think he'd have been super. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski, he's played against all these guys, and he said Michael Jordan and Leonard Bias were the best 2 players he ever coached against. And Leonard Bias, we didn't have a 3-point shot when he was playing, and he could shoot the 3. He could take it inside and dunk on you and shoot the jump up, turn around, jump. In fact, I think his junior or maybe senior year, we just ran, we called it a special offense, and we just gave him the ball on every possession and let him do what he wanted to do.
Do you agree with the people who say the only person who could stop Michael Jordan was Dean Smith?
Well, not really, but I mean, Dean substituted a lot. I never did substitute. I like to play 6 or 7 people, and that was it. Only reason I took somebody out of the game is if he got in foul trouble or, screwed up too much. But Dean did a great job of using his bench, and he did take Michael out a lot. In fact, I'd see him at the scores table, but if they were playing a zone, which he didn't do a whole lot, I'd say, slow it up a little bit. Don't let him back in there. But, Michael Jordan's a great player, and I recruited him, and I knew his dad and his mother and everybody. So he's a great, great, great guy, great player.
Did you have any idea back in college that he would become the basketball icon that Michael did?
Not really. I mean, he was a great player in college, but he wasn't like Mr. Basketball like he was in the NBA. I think he got better when he got older, and he got better. He was a great player in college, but he was the best when he got in the NBA. I don't know about LeBron James. Some of these guys and Kobe Bryant now, and those guys are good too. I don't know if they're as good as Michael, but we'll see.
If you were to hire a coach to coach a college team, like say the Illinois job, who would you hire?
Well, I get Mike Krzyzewski, but I don't think he's available.
Out of the guys that are available.
But of the guys that are available, I don't know. Tell me who they are. I don't really know.
I'm hearing
Who they got available.
It's Shaka Smart. I'm hearing Reggie Theus. I think Scott Druitt, Baylor might be available. Those are the
Anthony Grant at Alabama, I believe, his name has come up.
See, all those guys are young guys, and I think any of them would be good. You know, but I think he got a raw deal getting kicked out of there because he had a pretty good record there, and you know, I don't know why they paid him $3 million to leave, but you know, any of those people that you mentioned, and they would all be good.
What about Chuck Driesell?
Yeah, he'd be great. But I don't think, you know, I told him not to take that Citadel job because you got to be in the military. You don't have to go into the military, but it's great training. That's why one of the reasons that I think Mike Krzyzewski is the best coach in the country right now, because he went to West Point and he knows how to lead. I mean, he was trained to lead people to go into battle and get killed. So, you know, I think Citadel is a great job in that respect, but I think it's hard to tell kids that this day and time that you got to be in a uniform. But it's not a bad place to be. But, I'd love to see Chuck get the Illinois job. No, he went to Ohio State, but he coached it.
Yeah,
he coached Mike Krzyzewski at Army. His first job was at Army. So I guess maybe he learned a little something about leadership there too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Bobby just thinks he's a 5-star general.
Yeah, you got that right. I mean, somebody told me he got a show now. He's still demonstrating. That guy, he can't demonstrate. He's too old.
Is there a point coaching where age factors in and you say, okay, this isn't for me? Or do the players stop listening?
Well, it did for me.
You showed you can win at any age.
It did for me. I asked Red Auerbach, who was a good friend of mine, one time. I said, Red, see, he quit coaching when he's about 50. And I said, Red, why'd you quit coaching? He said, because one day I was getting ready to go to practice, and I said, I don't want to put my sneakers on. I want to go to practice. I'm never going to practice again. And he said, and I quit. And I got that way at Georgia State. I was getting ready to go to practice. I had been sick with the flu. And I said, I don't want to go to practice today, and I don't think I ever want to go. So I got on the phone, called the president. I was after 10 games, and I said, I'm quitting. I've been coaching since 1954, and that was 2003, I think it was. So I said, look, I told my wife, I got enough money. I don't need to do this, and I don't want to go to practice today, so I'm quitting. So that's the way I quit, and that's the way Red quit, too.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, nice talking to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.